Hey people, Sleepy Reader here. Hey, how are you doing? Got some comic book thoughts for you. I'm gonna probably bang through a number of comics. I didn't really want to give you my comic thoughts on Batman 51. I wasn't supposed to get it, but there it was in my stack. I didn't realize it was going to be there. I had to now tell my comic book shop twice to drop Batman. But anyway, I went ahead and read it. But what I really wanted to talk about was the incredible art by Lee Weeks, but even more so, I just want to mention the incredible art by Lee Weeks and mention the incredible coloring by Betty Breitweiser. This is the first time I've been aware of her on a mainstream comic book. I know she started at Marvel and now does stuff at Image. She's incredible on the things like The Fade Out and Kill or Be Killed, and she really does lovely color work here. It's not in your face. She deals with shades of coloring, not gradients and that sort of thing. But everything has a wonderful painterly quality. She puts the shadows in just the right places. I don't know if some of those were indicated by the artist, but she also has a way of, flecking and doing sort of dashes of color and things like that that only enhance things. And yet, at first glance, you feel like you're looking at some very simple coloring. So I just found this issue a special delight because of her coloring. And I wanted to mention that. Even though I'm now out of the Tom King Batman game for the moment anyway. This did seem like kind of a cool idea, cool issue. Actually, one more thing I guess I'll say about it is because I have mentioned in the past how comic book writers who are supposedly tend to be on the liberal side, but it doesn't even matter if you're liberal or conservative. Comic book writers don't seem to think about the fact of whether torturing villains is an effective way to get the truth from them or not. And it looks like this series is going to deal with that. So I got a hand props to Tom King for tackling that kind of issue. Anyway, love the coloring. Another book with incredible art. I don't think I'm going to say a lot about it right now. I read in a row Doctor Strange #2 and #3, written by Mark Waid. Great art by Jesus Saez. He does his own coloring here. I was used to him back when he did Swamp Thing, and he was colored by Matthew Wilson, who is an awesome colorist. And the effect when he does his own coloring is kind of different. It's a bit more three-dimensional, has a bit more of that digital painting look to it, but still, he does incredible work. And he's an incredible draftsman and storyteller too. So Jesus Saez is someone, that you want to jump on whenever he's doing the work. I'm enjoying this Doctor Strange in space, despite my misgivings about that essential idea. I don't really feel any connection to the old days of Doctor Strange, for me, which is the 70s. It feels like a different character, but, what should I expect after all this time? And in the modern times, it seems like the characters change with every issue. I mean, every creator. And it's harder for me to accept that with Marvel comics that I loved so much as a kid compared to DC, which I felt a greater distance and they felt more iconic to me rather than like specific people. But nevertheless, I've really enjoyed this, and there's a lot of clever stuff in it. It's not deeply engaging emotionally, but there is an emotional aspect to it, which I like. I hope this character of kind of the Raider of the Lost Ark of outer space, magic relics person stays on for a while. I think their relationship's very interesting. I actually really enjoyed Wade and Saez's way of portraying the Skrulls. I don't know if this comes from someone else's portrayal, but it's extremely inventive and powerful. And as a science fiction fan, I really enjoyed that rethinking of the Skrulls. So, yeah, I guess the difference maybe with Saez's color and Wilson's, or for that matter, Breitweiser's, is the colors are a little more on the nose or something. Anyway, but very effective stuff, and I really like it a lot. Here's one with great color, great art. I think both the color and art, was it by, no, colors by Nick Klein, art by Esad Ribic. I meant to drop this, I didn't, and now realize it's the last issue, or maybe I realized the last issue was coming up, so I didn't drop it. They say they might do more. If they do, I hope I don't accidentally get it in my pull. Amazing, amazing art. The amazing designs of this future world and everything. I think I've kind of said all this before, but I'm reading this last issue, and maybe if I went back and read all 5 issues, I could glean more of a story to it. I mean, I get the essential story. There's this professional soldier who's controlled by the system, and then somehow he kind of rebels against the system, and it at least causes a temporary setback to the powers that be. But I'm not quite sure who the powers that be are, or the various other characters that were shown. I'm not even quite sure what our main character, the soldier, whose name at the moment eludes me. It's actually kind of a cool name, but now I can't think of it. I'm not sure what he did or what happened that made him kind of a rebel. It seemed to happen by accident in a way. Oddly, for the greatest soldier in the history of this game, he seems oddly passive. So I don't know if they're trying to tell us something with that, or what they're trying to tell us in this book. I could literally imagine someone taking the pictures in here, rewriting the story so that I knew who all the characters are and all their motivations and what the setup was better, and it could have been like a really great science fiction adventure. So very frustrating, but in a weird way, I'm kind of glad I read it. Talking about a weird way, I've really been enjoying Ice Cream Man. In the final issue of the first arc, some other character came to Ice Cream Man and was gonna have some kind of reckoning with him. But now we skip to this scene in some city. The odd thing about, we're in the middle of a city and it says about 30 miles outside of town. I'm not sure what that means. There's all kinds of cryptic things in here. I now feel like I should look at the tops of these buildings to see if they spell out something. So in this issue, we get this really bizarre, creatively constructed, creepy, scary, horrific thing where this guy is committing suicide off this 100-story building. And as he's going down, he's sort of talking about his regrets and other things like that. And at the same time, inside the building he's falling past, all kinds of gross and scary things are happening, and we never really find out why, although it's made compelling because we follow this woman's journey down the inside of the building. So she's going down the inside of the building while there's another guy going down the outside of the building. And towards the end of the comic, the guy that showed up at the end of last issue, I think, is the guy who shows up at the end of this issue. The Ice Cream Man himself, for once, does not show up. So I assume all of this is going to have greater meaning as we go on. And yeah, I'll be a little bit annoyed if it doesn't, but I also love the surrealism of this and the artful construction of each chapter or episode. It's very episodic, so you can read an individual issue and you won't get all the answers, but you will have an interestingly shaped story with a kind of a beginning, middle, and end. So yeah, this is solidly staying on my pull list. One of the more unusual comics, story-wise, that I'm involved with. Even though I talked about Superman a bit in my last video, I thought I'd put it back in my pile. I listened to Walt, I'm not sure, Walt's Comic Book Channel or whatever it's called, and he picked this up as his first issue. He did not read the miniseries, and he felt like this issue read as kind of a wrapping up of the miniseries, and I had not thought of that. Having read the miniseries, I just thought of it as a continuation of the miniseries. But I can sort of see what he's saying. There's a lot of stuff that kind of was confirmed, or the feelings about it were confirmed in this issue from that 3-page issue. But I can also see how Bendis considers this a start in his way of writing his mega story, where he has to put in kind of a start to Clark Kent, because we're getting our first view of Clark Kent in a full issue where he's alone without Lois and John, no sort of flashbacks to them and everything, and so it's the beginning of his feeling of loneliness. There were some weird, to me, things in here. There was also something I really liked. I mean, as I told you before, I really like this issue, and I really like the paper it's on, and the coloring is pretty cool. I really liked that he mentions here galaxies, or the galaxy. So Superman is dealing with the galaxy. It's not like he's flying from one galaxy to the other just for a quick jaunt, which is the lack of understanding the difference between galaxies and solar systems. Just exploring our one galactic arm could give you thousands of civilizations potentially. So anyway, then as most of you probably know, he fights this group of aliens, the Dominators. I assume they've appeared before, but I don't particularly remember them. But it looks like, and he's trying to discourage them from invading Earth by wrecking their fleet. But it looks like along the way of wrecking his fleet, has he killed them? Has he killed hundreds? Has he killed thousands? Dozens? Has he killed any? I'm not sure, but does Superman kill aliens? Or does he kill... When does Superman kill and when does he not kill? I don't know. It seemed a little odd to me that he would basically be killing these foot soldiers as a way to discourage people from invading Earth, although he seems to think they will try to invade Earth again anyway. I loved this scene of Lois and Clark in bed. So I guess there is a flashback to the Lois and Clark time, but it really, just the way it was colored and done, it both gave me a sense of real love in a couple and the sadness of being alone with the wife and child gone. So what was the other thing I wanted to mention? That's funny. Oh, so this is stuff I'd said on Twitter, but I thought this conversation with Martian Manhunter, while intriguing, and I learned from Carlos Infante that it's a plot line that's been explored before of whether Superman should rule the world. I found it intriguing, I thought there was something really weird with his conversation with Martian Manhunter. Is this maybe the way Brian Bendis talks with his cohorts? He says, let's see, maybe it's the next page. There's a point it is kind of cool how they keep having Superman leaving, quickly fighting some monster, quickly saving some people, and then back. So that's done really cool. I don't know, is this what John Jones is like? How did he come to the conclusion that Superman should lead the world? Anyway, he says, I love you, John, but... And I just sort of imagine a Hollywood agent saying, I love you, Robert Redford, but you really shouldn't be in this movie, or whatever. It just, because later he says, you look good, John. You look good? This is what superheroes say to each other? I don't know. It just seemed like maybe Brian Michael Bendis has been to one too many movie pitch meeting or TV production conversation or something with this kind of glib flattery and glib pretend emotional connection that is not at all believable. Or maybe he's trying to... is this how he imagines the Justice League really is? I don't know. That was just my little bugaboo. So anyway, but in true kind of modern comics fashion, at the end, we're led into the next step of the story. So it's not totally a conclusion to the previous story. And there are elements in here, even like the John Jones and the potential alien invaders, that were not threads. these are new threads that were not threads established in Man of Steel. I'm taking more time than I thought, so I'm going to try to speed up. Thing and Human Torch, I really liked this annual, which told me a lot about Reed Richards and Doctor Doom in a really cool kind of multi-dimensional way. Although the multi-dimensionalness of things, especially in Marvel 2-in-1, is getting kind of mind-boggling. But it does harken back really nicely to the Jonathan Hickman Fantastic Four run. And I really appreciate that. And I don't have no idea if Dan Slott will be taking anything from all this, but I kind of hope he will, because it's really interesting. And while part of me wants the Fantastic Four to just return to what they were like under Lee and Kirby, I think the stuff Jonathan Hickman did really took them in an interesting modern direction, and the more that is included, I think the better. It does beg a number of questions, like, really, what is Doom doing with the Thing? It also makes me, I don't know if this connects directly up to stuff that in the Bendis run about the Doom trying to be like Iron Man and be a good guy. I only read 1 or 2 issues of that on Marvel Unlimited. I liked them, but when I'm on Marvel Unlimited, my attention keeps going in multiple directions. So, and then in this issue, it was a good adventure issue. It's kind of, it's almost like reading Black Science or something, going from one crazy world to another. And we've done that in the Marvel Universe many a time in the time since I've started paying closer attention, and well before that, because it was around 2010, 2011 that I started buying a lot of Marvel and DC comics again. But despite that semi-complaint, or just comment, that I just think it's funny that Marvel constantly has to do variations on itself in other universes and that sort of thing, because there's no way it can totally recapture the sort of golden age of Marvel, which was the Silver Age and early Bronze Age, in my opinion. They can't really go back to that, so they have to keep playing variation after variation on these well-established characters. But this was a lot of fun. This alternate world with this crazy Peter Parker, I think, kind of ruling the world, the post-apocalyptic world after a civil war that, the superhero civil war that went wrong, is really cool. So looking forward to the next installment there. Hellblazer continues to be what I think would have been a really cool series with a better artist. I wonder how much Tim Seeley is affected by the fact that his artist is not that effective. If he's trying less hard. I think I heard someone say that this book is already known to be canceled, so Seeley and the artist may be writing it knowing it's doomed. But boy, does this art continue to be kind of frustrating. But I think it's a ghoulishly complex little horror story that I'm still enjoying. So I think next issue, 24, will be the last of it, maybe the last of Hellblazer altogether. Exo Man of War continues kind of as expected with this deeper look into history of Arik of Dacia and his time. I'm still enjoying it a lot, enjoying the art a lot. It's interesting how I wonder how much complication Arik's backstory can handle. Like if over the years, and well, even I guess just the years since Valiant rebooted, how many backstories of his adventures before he became Exo Man of War can there be? But I just enjoy having these historical kinds of things. If I were super big into Exo Man of War, I might be frustrated that there's no Exo Man of War in here. It's all Arik as a historical soldier character. The Romans versus the what are they, the Huns or something? Basically the Asian warriors. I was a bit confused. I didn't think the Romans fought them. So I need to learn a bit more history. But excellent coloring here, an excellent book. So I don't know, just looking for something to complain about it. And I hope they fully develop the story. This cover for the next issue looks amazing. But lots of fun details there. Oblivion Song. It's weird because I know that, they've already published and given to comic book stores owners the first 6 issues in a trade. This is issue 5. It feels like the story's heading for a close, and I think I heard Robert Kirkman say there were like 13 issues in the bag now. Boy, these colors are amazing. There's another great colorist. Annalisa Leone. Never heard of her before, but I assume she's European, and wow, great find in the colorist. Very good artist, especially of this kind of weird stuff. I'm still not a super huge fan of the way he does faces. Sometimes they're weaker than others, or just have an odd look to me. But, it seems like here the survivors now, we're told, want to stay in this weird world that they come from, at least the ones that we're talking to now. And it seems kind of a done deal. I feel like there could just be 2 more issues. So I'm really curious how Kirkman is going to break out of this, out of this setup that he set up. There is stuff going on at Earth that may be disruptive and cause new problems and everything. Will our hero just end up being stranded in this world, and will it then become just a story of survival that goes on and on and on, like a certain other Robert Kirkman book? Somehow I assume he's not going to play it exactly that way. So I'm just really curious as to how he'll play it next. Wow, look at the amazing colors there too. It's funny how I'll take a photograph of a comic book or make a video, and I'll notice new things that I haven't noticed when I'm just looking at the physical copy. I don't know what that says about me. I need a camera to see things. Okay, well, I will be back soon with some more comic book thoughts. I'm back from my vacation. It went really well. I had a good time. If I have time, I might tomorrow make a sleepy vlog and tell you some about my vacation and some thoughts about other things. Sorry to tease a video that I may or may not actually do, but I hope I will do it. Okay.